Hi friends, welcome to Raising Lifelong Learners. I'm your host, Colleen Kessler, and this is the podcast where I encourage you to trust yourself and your differently wired kiddos as you help cultivate their curiosity, encourage them to discover the world around them, embrace who they are wired to be, all while helping them discover their passions, interests, and raise them to become the amazing adults they're meant to be. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 270. Today we're talking about asynchrony. Asynchrony is a topic that's come up on the podcast before, and we'll link to past episodes as well as posts that I've written on the website about the topic over on the show notes for this episode. Asynchrony is kind of the defining characteristic of giftedness, and we're talking about it again because the question comes up all the time: how to help your asynchronous kiddo be successful when you're homeschooling them. And this month in the Learners Lab, the community that I run for families who are homeschooling gifted, twice exceptional, neurodivergent, or just outside the box kiddos, we are focusing on a theme all about asynchrony. There's going to be a master's class that I'm teaching to parents about asynchrony. I'm teaching a class to kids about what asynchrony is, what their brains are doing when they are kind of many ages at once. And I thought it would be worth bringing the topic to the podcast again and talking about it more in depth so that if you're not in the lab, you can at least get some information about asynchrony and some tips for how to help your kiddos. And then maybe it would encourage you to join the lab and dive deeper into this topic with us this month. I'll also have a link to the lab on the show notes, but you can always find it in the top right-hand corner of the website at raisinglifelonglearners.com. All right. Special thanks to CTC Math, our season-long sponsor. We really appreciate all of their support. Check them out at ctcmath.com, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them later on in the podcast. But let's get on with the show today. Pop those earbuds in, go for a walk, take your time to just regroup, tune out from the kids for a while, and let's focus on this topic because it's going to be a good one with lots and lots of tips for you. All right, let's get on with today's episode. All right, here we go. Let's dive in and talk about asynchrony. I remember a comment that I read in a Facebook group a long time ago. I remember it like it was yesterday, though. A mom popped into a homeschooling group. It was not a group for gifted families. It was not a group for neurodivergent families, and it was years ago. A mom came into a Facebook group trying to get some help for her kiddo and for her because she didn't know what to do. Her 7-year-old was reading at an 11th grade level. She had just completed 6th grade math, but was exceptionally emotional and had trouble holding a pencil. She melted down all of the time. She struggled to stay focused, and this mom was struggling herself to meet all of her daughter's needs because she was a brand new homeschool mom and she was reaching out for help. Other readers in this Facebook group chimed in. Some of them offered some really good advice, but most criticized her. They said, stop pushing your child. Or they said, all kids are smart. You just have to find the way they're smart, so your kid isn't that special. Or they would say, all kids are gifted. They just show their gifts at different times. All of the cliches that we hear as parents of gifted children, which cause us to clam up and not ask for help when we need help. Because I don't know about you, but I have had this said to me before when I've been trying to get help or support for something that I was going through as a parent of a profoundly gifted kiddo when he was young, especially. Parents would be like, oh, I wish I had that problem. Oh, I wish my kid was so smart. That'd be an easy problem to deal with. Just imagine if you had to deal with this. And everybody has challenges. Just because my challenges and your challenges are different than some others doesn't make them less of challenges. I felt so badly for this mom. Her kiddo was asynchronous, and she felt all alone, tired, and defeated. She felt like homeschooling her kiddo had been a mistake. I remember her post so vividly because it was like she was typing out my own thoughts. My kids were young, and I was still struggling with understanding, while I had a master's degree in gifted education and I'd worked with gifted kids in the classroom, I was struggling with how to work with my own gifted kids at home and meet all of their needs while supporting them as a parent and understanding that just because they're advanced in one area does not mean they're advanced in another. And it really truly is a struggle. I remember a friend of mine telling me years and years ago that her 6-year-old was reading The Lord of the Rings but couldn't tie his shoe. I also remember my own kid who could do algebra at a very young age but forgot to brush his teeth or forgot to remember to go to the bathroom before we were going different places. Maybe they have deep existential thoughts about the universe, but they're throwing a tantrum over the wrong color plate. Asynchronous development in gifted kids comes in so many different forms. Today, we're going to talk about what asynchrony actually is, how it impacts our homeschooling, and what we can do to support our kids' unique development. I'll share some real life examples like I just did, but I will share mostly practical strategies and a whole lot of encouragement. Because here's the thing. If you're parenting an asynchronous kiddo, you probably need that encouragement. So grab a cup of coffee, curl up, like I said earlier, and just imagine you're sitting down with me with that cup of coffee and we're just chatting as friends. Because I really want to encourage you that you're not alone and others are feeling this same way. So let's start with the basics. What is asynchrony? The Columbus Group, a group of psychologists, educators, and parents who deeply understood giftedness, defined it in this way. Giftedness is asynchronous development.